So today I'll try my best to walk you through the process of drug discovery and development. I'm sure that we all take medicines, and some of you have been informed the complexity involved in terms of developing one medicine. But I would like to show you some numbers, the real numbers across the industry we see. So when I say discovery and development, drug development has got two key um, components. One is the discovery. So we start with I don't know which one to show. I think I can stand here. So we start with the drug research, and then we move to preclinical tests. Following that, we move to clinical trials on human, and then the approval after launch. So the first two stage, 1 and 2, drug research and preclinical tests, we call it discovery. And then the clinical trials is development, how we develop the drug. Now we start with 4 million compounds at the lab, compounds meaning chemicals. From 4 million, only 10,000, they move to the next stage. Out of 10,000, only 250 molecules, we move to the preclinical tests. And out of 250, only 5 of them, they end up with the human. And out of 5, if we are lucky, only 1 gets the approval. So you could imagine the process is quite lengthy, risky, costly, and it takes loads of energies. So in terms of numbers, this is the rough cost of developing one drug, 2.6 billion up to. It takes up to 5 to 10 years. Of course, there are exceptions where we see that during COVID, we saw drug development timelines reduced a bit. And then the success rate is very low, below 10%. So it's very risky industry. So you could imagine there is a huge potential and demand for innovation. Now, let's go through the core aspects of drug discovery. So we start with target identifications. What are the targets? So every disease has got a pathology. Every disease should have a pathology. Do we know all of them? Some of them. There are still areas to improve. So we start to identify biological data to identify a potential drug target. Every drug should have a target. So we try to understand the disease mechanism. From the disease mechanism, we try to identify one target. And the interesting bit is, at the literature, there are multiple pathophysiology of the disease, meaning that there may be multiple targets. So each company, sometime we do distribute our targets. Next one is compound screening. So you have your targets. Now you have got a vast library of compounds, potential drugs. Then you try to predict the efficacy and the safety of those compounds that can bind with the targets. And then once you have got data points, you do some lead optimization. You try to change some of the properties so that you increase the pharmacological properties, you enhance the binding potentials and so on. And then you go into preclinical. So preclinical test involves predicting some of the outcomes, testing it on in silico or in vivo animals, and then moving to the development, which is running clinical trials on humans. So these are the core components. Now overall, when I say AI, it includes machine learning, it includes the deep learning, natural NLPs, and so on. So there is a huge potential of AI technology to transform all the 4 stages. However, I'll be very clear that we cannot just leave all the sciences to AI and wait that it would come up with the best drug. It won't happen. And I'll tell you why. So in terms of the traditional challenges that we see within each stages of the drug discoveries, it starts with the attrition rate. So approximately 30% of the drug candidates, they fail in the target identification stage because we fail to validate it. So that the target itself is not good enough. Time consuming process. The traditional target identification takes up to 4 years. So we're talking about a target identification. You have got a disease, you are trying to identify a target where your drug can bind. Limited knowledge of the disease mechanism. Regardless of the science, there are still diseases where there are multiple uh, pathways, and we don't know which pathway to target. So we still have got limited knowledge of the disease mechanism. And then it comes with the data silos because there are multiple data sets we work with, proteomics, genomics, imaging data, radiomics, and so on. And these data sets, they sit on multiple locations, different systems. So integration of those data set and trying to extract knowledge is not always that straightforward, unfortunately. The cost implications, I think I showed you that it could be up to 2 billion, the cost of overall drug development, and then there are regulatory challenges. Now, how AI is supporting us in terms of solving some of this problem? Network pharmacology. So it analyzes large amount of biological networks to identify the novel targets, integrating large amount of data set. It has been easier than before with the AI. Omics data integration. So I think omics data is one of the data sets or the areas where we have been seeing a lot of impact through AI. It can analyze large set of data. It can provide a historical overview, a holistic view of the disease mechanism because it can read multiple modalities of data sets, and it's helping a lot. Then the predictive analysis. I think here you can imagine there are lots of predictions involved. The more accurate you would be with your prediction in terms of the target, the chances of success would increase. So here with large data set, the prediction accuracy is increasing. So these three components are overcoming some of the challenge, helping us to overcome some of the challenges when it comes to traditional drug discovery. When it comes to compound screening, so the high cost and the low hit rate. Now we are going to we know the target where we need to go. Now we are talking about the compounds, the potential drugs. So traditionally, we have been seeing that high throughput screening has a hit rate of only up to 2% of drug-like components. So you can see there's a huge opportunity. Now, machine learning is supporting us in terms of predicting some of the drug target interactions using the data we have collected across over the times. There are multiple models, GANs and VAEs. They support us in terms of predicting some of the molecular structure, desired properties, and also allow us to explore some of the chemical spaces. So we can see that is improving the hit rate and also reducing the cost. So this is one of the core areas AI is impacting. Then the lead optimization. Now, what is lead optimization? Lead optimization is that you have got a target, you have got a lead. Now we are trying to enhance the pharmacological properties of that particular target. So here, the traditional challenge we see that 50% of the candidates, they fail due to poor pharmacokinetics, that we don't know how it behaves in vivo. The animal model versus human model, there's a huge difference. You can imagine a rat brain size and a primate or a human brain size has got significant differences. So with AI, we can see that through iterative learning, we can basically optimize some of the drug properties. We can do better predictive modeling for ADMET, which is basically the way that we take a drug and that it absorbs and basically metabolized. Toxicology is another area where we can predict a lot with the AI-driven solutions. And overall, this combining the robotics, we see a lot of traction when it comes to automatize the process. It's helping to reduce the lead optimization time, is helping to reduce the cost significantly. Now the preclinical test, and this is very important stage where you are transforming your molecule from the lab to in vivo, to the animals, and then uh, to human. So here the accuracy of your data set is very important. So in drug development, you'll be surprised. Uh, Sometime the sooner you can kill a molecule is better. So if you move a pharmaceutical compound to stage 3 and then it fails, you're talking about 3 to 500 million at least. It could be more depending on the indication, depending on the therapeutic area and size of the trial. So I'll show you another data set in a minute. So you can imagine the preclinical development is one of the pivotal stage for us to take a decision, go, no go, and acquiring good quality data. So 80% of the drug, they fail either because of efficacy, meaning that it's not doing what it meant to do, or doing. So sometimes it is important to understand, let's say if we are developing a particular drug, if there are 3 other drugs available, so your drug should do better than them. It should be more um, impactful than the existing drug. Otherwise, you won't get the reimbursement. What's the point of taking the drug? So working is not good enough. It should work better than the standard of care. So 80% of the drug fail due to the efficacy, and the second one is the safety, meaning that the toxicology is not safe for the patients. With AI, we are doing a lot of in silico toxicology. So predicts the toxicological profiles based on the chemical structures, and it is helping us to reduce the reliance on animal testing. So all data I'm giving you is across the industry. It's not from a particular company, it's across the industry. Then the biomarker discovery. So it is very important that we find a proper biomarker for the identification of the right patients for the right therapeutic area. So biomarkers are helping us to stratify the patients. We can select the patient during a trial where we believe that it works. So you are reducing the unnecessary exposure to the drugs to others, and you are bringing in the right patients. So with in silico toxicology is supporting us in terms of profiling the drug. With biomarker discovery is helping us in terms of stratifying the patients in a clinical trial, and also is helping us moving towards more personalized medication. So as you always, I think you hear that personalized medicine, actually biomarkers, they are the one which helping us in terms of personalizing the medicine. And then simulation of the drug interactions. So here with the biological systems, we can build lots of simulation. Without AI, it would have been really difficult. Here we can, in a small time, in a few days, we can simulate multiple models that can give us in-depth data about the drug interactions, how a drug interacts with different patient groups, because biomarkers are helping us in terms of stratifying the patient population. We are seeing a reduction in preclinical testing and improving the accuracy in terms of the predictive models and so on. So here we are moving the better drugs to the clinical trials. Clinical trials optimization, and this is a very interesting area where there is a lot of opportunities, lot of issues. So let me tell you a few facts here. So 40% of the drug development costs are not developing the molecule itself. It is to run the clinical trials. Because regulators, they demand robust data set across different territories. And most of the clinical trials, they fail to recruit the right patients at the right time. So meaning that we see a lengthy drug development time. Sometime, we had to abandon the clinical trials because we can't recruit the right patients at the right time. So why this is so difficult to find the right patients? You might be thinking that we have got, we know what the patients are. It's not that straightforward actually. So the patients data set, we cannot access the patient data. We need to go through the NHS, the GPs, and so on. And we don't have the population specific um, identifiers of disease. So we rely heavily on the clinicians, on the big academic hospitals to find the patients. In the US, there are multiple systems. Of course, in the US, they have got electronic medical records. But as you know, that electronic medical records and their general physicians, not always the matches. So finding the right patients, finding the drug naive patients is a huge challenge. AI is helping in some way. We can now make the patients more aware about certain clinical trials and so on. However, there are still opportunities to improve. The main challenges are data silos and so on. Now, AI is supporting us in terms of optimizing the protocols, and this is very important. When we run a clinical trials, you need to write a big protocol, definitely for safety, to make sure that the clinicians are treating, they're trained, and so on. So, writing protocols, bringing historical data within the protocols uh, have been changed a bit with AI. It's supporting us to draft, it's supporting us to do the referencing, it's supporting us to use the historical data so that we can develop the protocols faster. It's also helping us in terms of the design of the trial and the statistical aspects and so on with multiple models is supporting us to develop it. The other interesting and very useful one is monitoring the safety of the patients in real time. So if we see any signals immediately in a vast data set without involving the clinical trial people, machine can predict that there might be some issues with the safeties and so on. So these are being helped. So we see that there is a reduction in terms of the trial duration, in terms of the study startup, in terms of the recruitment rates and so on. But still, there are opportunities to optimize, reaching out to the patients and finding the drug naive patients and recruiting them on a trial. Manufacturing and supply chain. I think all of you have been aware during COVID, we saw there is a huge issue across the globe in terms of the supply chain. So it is very important that we learn from that lesson. We see inefficiencies, quality controls across the industry. And then we believe that AI can support us and supporting us in terms of predictive maintenance, predicting the failures of the equipments, looking at the inventory, so basically supply chain optimization, and also the quality control. So some of the AI-powered image analysis detects defects in real time in the production process. So these are the three areas we see that AI is impacting the supply chain. The regulatory submission, as you know, imagine you run a trial and you realize that there is a huge opportunity, good results you want to submit. Now, writing these documents, you won't believe me, is thousands of pages you need to write. They should be properly formatted. They should be submitted. Thousands, if not millions. So AI is supporting us in terms of consolidating some of this data set. AI is supporting us in terms of checking some of the references. So it's enhancing the overall submission document creation. And last month, FDA actually they introduced AI to review the dossier. Now there are some challenges, and these challenges are almost similar to across the industry. Now, I think it is important for us to understand that AI can augment the process. AI can support us with each of the value chain within the drug development workflow. However, AI cannot just do the work and give us the drug that we would need. Some of the challenges we see is integration with the existing system. As you know, that pharmaceutical company overall digital transformation is a bit lagging than some of the companies. So we have got lots of legacy systems, and often the data are um, uh, sitting in multiple countries. There are different local regulatory requirements and so on. So we see that integration with the existing system is one of the challenges. Still, we see some of the processes within the AI toolboxes. There are some hallucination. If you can try, sometimes they're giving us references, it doesn't exist. Sometimes it's making up journals which never exist. So we need to be very careful in terms of how we use it. However, the potential is huge. With this, I'm open for a few questions. Yeah, please. That's fantastic. That's a very good question. So I came from, I've been trained at Imperial College, and most of the innovation you see in pharma industry is not a single man invention. It's coming from academia. So the first one, if you look at my first slide, understanding the disease. So here, so these three areas will be highly impacted when we see the adoption of AI within the academia, within the research industries across the globe, because those are the engine room of identifying the disease mechanism. They are publishing more than before because of AI. Compound screening, most of the university labs, they have lots of funding now in terms of identifying the right molecular structure. So these are the two core areas we believe that the academia would feed into with AI. So, sorry. No, absolutely. So toxicology, predicting the efficacy and safety during the lead optimization, during the preclinical, is generating lots of valuable data sets. So it's allowing us to take decisions, a bit more informed decision than before, and we can basically do it faster. So we see a fast um, understanding of the safety profile. We can simulate more, and it's also allowing us to put some live algorithms where it can detect signals, for example pharmacovigilance. So rather than waiting, automatically it can detect if something is being reported. Yeah, that's a very, very good question and very difficult one. So, uh, actually, so you see, if you look at, allow me. So these are the key steps in drug discovery and development. So, what are the metrics that we are looking for? The cost. Is it reducing the cost of developing a drug? That's one of the key metrics. Is it reducing the timeline that we see is up to 15 years? Is it reducing the timeline of bringing a drug from bench to bedside? And then the success rate, can we reduce the attrition rate? So these are overall metrics. Now, if you look at each and every step within drug development here, so I think if you look at, I think I gave some indication about some of the key metrics for here. So hit rates and the screening cost. Is it enhancing the hit rate and screening cost? Reducing the screening cost? When it comes to optimization, is time of the lead optimization and the success rate. So I think pharma industry is quite good with the metrics. So each and every stage we have got metrics. But overall, for a patient, is it bringing in innovative medicine to the market faster? I think that's the key metrics we all need to look for. And I think there are some data being published, but I think it's a bit too early. We need to wait a bit more and see the robustness of the data. Yeah, so let's take your first point, the literature review and all that, whether AI can. Definitely, the multiple models, the LLM models are helping us to read large amount of data sets in a very small amount of time. Now, what is the robustness? Mostly right, but when it comes to hallucination, we see lots of hallucination as well. So we are not relying solely that, okay, I need to find a topic. I'm just using multiple LLM models and using solely that particular output. I'm being very honest, I don't do that. And my team and my colleagues across the industry, they don't do that. Often you'll be surprised that last night I was searching on the same topic, and what we see often that is giving you the right paper title, but is coming up with a different journal's name. So we need to be very careful. So what I'm saying that you can augment your knowledge, but you should not solely rely on LLMs to provide you the knowledge mining. But if you train your algorithm, fine tune it with your own data sets, then we see the accuracy. It's a, yeah, I think we need to follow the regulatory guidelines. The regulatory guidelines are quite robust. Some of the regulatory agencies, they are adapting their own guidelines. New guidelines are being published. It depends on which area of the value chain you want to react. So when it comes to decision making, triaging, diagnostics, uh, it has got very clear uh, metrics and guidelines. But when it comes to other areas in terms of the training, uh, there there are different regulations you need to follow. But it is a regulated industry.